Warning, the following program contains extreme coarse language and mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is extremely advised. Good evening, it's ADC. This is Talking Truth Thursday, episode 9. Loblaws and grocery gouging. So big story out there is the price gouging, the no-name price fixing, the greatness of someone like Galen Weston, and great to the capitalist society, not necessarily great to society in general. As we are sitting here in what the experts continue to call a recession or soon to be recession. And and there's a lot of truth behind Loblaws, a lot of truth behind the grocery gouging. And we're going to kick it off. We're going to share our screen here and update from a story through CBC. And like and subscribe to the show. Follow us at ADC Talking Truth on Twitter, ADC Truth on Twitter and on TikTok. And we haven't done a lot of TikTok recently. We look to go back to that. But we're going to share the story here. And it's been 5 years since the bread fixing probe started, and we still have no answers. So Sophia Harris of CBC News posted this one 4 days ago, and talking about in 2015, Loblaw confessed to taking part in what the Canadian Competition Bureau alleges industry-wide bread price fixing scheme that included 7 major grocers. Loblaw offered customers $25 gift cards to make amends. So consumer furor over rising food prices has reignited the anger over the infamous bread fixing scandal, which became public in 2017, allegedly involving several major grocers colluding to inflate bread prices. And you're seeing some of these grocers doing that now with eggs due to the supply chain, the avian flu that birds are seeing. So you see the chicken availability as well as egg availability is down. So we're going to increase the prices there. I know some of our friends in the States are paying anywhere from $7 to $9 per dozen eggs. And remember, our minimum wage in most places is in the States it's nowhere near living wage. Most places is slightly more than that, or some of them are under that still in the United States. So during a parliamentary committee hearing last month, Loblaw Companies Limited, which owns Loblaws and Superstore, and Empire Company Limited, owner of Sobeys and Safeway, said they're not profiteering, but instead passing on higher costs from suppliers. Meanwhile, the Competition Bureau is still investigating the price fixing scheme almost 5.5 years after launching that probe in August of 2017. No charges have been laid. The competition watchdog says there's no conclusion of wrongdoing at this time, and they offered no timeline to when they'll have a decision, saying the Bureau must conduct its work confidentially. A lot of tweets coming out earlier this month. High food prices rile up the consumers and people. I remember the bread price fixing scandal. 8 years since the Loblaw tip, almost 8 years. In March of 2015, Loblaw alerted the Competition Bureau to its part in the alleged industry-wide price fixing agreement to artificially inflate the price of some packaged bread from 2001 to 2015. So that's 14 years. And they received immunity from prosecution for its cooperation, then offered customers $25 gift cards to make amends for the gouging of their grocery customers for 14 years. And are you being gouged by the grocery store? Sylvain Charlebois, the director of Agri-Food Analytics Lab at Dalhousie University, and we all know the food professor is well known on Twitter, alleging people taking shots at him because Mr. Charlebois actually had a grant from Loblaws to his work, and it's a lot of talking about what they should do, but nothing really pointing out. We're sitting there he's going that there's unfinished business out there, competition law, a lot of excuses given. They're playing the devil's advocate a lot of times when he is on different media sources and quoting, he says that he's against Galen Weston, against the Loblaws, does have a lot of posts against Loblaws, but is it really getting to the root cause of why Loblaws is at the stage that they're in? And we've posted about it on various platforms over the last few months. The fact that Loblaws is the owner of Shoppers Drug Mart. And if you're in Ontario or you're in Alberta, every one of our provincial media events, that announcements when it comes to healthcare, takes place at a Shoppers Drug Mart. Coincidence? I think not. A lot of private, lot of the stuff when it was a supply chain shortage on COVID supplies, testing kits, and whatever. There wasn't a shortage at Shoppers Drug Mart. So we'll just leave it at that. I know here in Central Alberta, there's shortages for children's pain relief still, and adult pain relief in most stores. Shopper seems to be able to get something, and with Daniel Smith's, once they approve or once they get the stuff that's actually got the child labels and the child safety caps on the bottles themselves, that pain relief medicine from the pharmaceutical manufacturer in Turkey that they made the deal with will be put on the shelves, and dollars to donuts, the shelves of Shoppers will be filled before all other pharmacies. Just opinion there, but that is what has happened in the past, what continues to happen. So it's where we start is that 5 years ago. So what is Loblaw? Well, Loblaw is the parent company of Superstore, of No Frills, of Shoppers Drug Mart. So we go to the Newswire to get the news provided directly from Loblaw Companies Limited. So a lot of people haven't looked at this, so we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into the Loblaw Corporation, especially their shareholders and the election of their directors, and their directors currently that were elected as of May 5th, 2022. So we're sitting here. If you look at the, let's see if we can zoom in here a little bit. So if you look there, the first name is Scott Bonham. Then there's Christy J.B. Clark. The one that always comes up is Galen G. Weston. So Galen Weston is his dad was the head of Loblaws. He's taken over. So that's the one. He's the clown that is in all the commercials and pretends that he cares about you, and he's all about President's Choice. He's all about saving you money, which he's clearly not. but he holds he got 97.82% of the vote to for his position on the board. And so we'll start with old Galen. So we'll go to Wikipedia. And Galen Weston Jr., Irish Canadian businessman, member of the prominent Weston family. Like we said, the Weston family are a family of business people with global interests in food, clothing, ventures, started by American-born Canadian George Weston. And since then, Galen, who's 50 years old, and Galen Sr. is the his dad. Estimated net worth for the family is $8.7 billion. So Weston became the executive chairman of Loblaw Corp in 2006, member of its board of directors, and he's featured in a number of television, radio commercials. And like I said, he is the face of the organization. Faced a lot of criticism. He is hugely anti-union. Actually, here in Alberta, him and his goons broke the union of one of the biggest distributors and like food distributors in Alberta. So your warehouse. So they didn't have the supplies. So last month, and they're still feeling it now, but for at least the last month and a half, there's been some product that has been limited in Loblaws because of the fact that they union busted in Alberta and stopped basically your warehouse that is able to distribute all these products to your stores. So he's the controlling shareholder of Whittington Investments, which is a British holding company. And click through Whittington Investments, controls George Weston Limited. And George Weston Limited is the Weston Foods. So if you I know I grew up in Regina. There was one of the Weston bakeries. There they did the whole thing from Britain, post-war, all this other stuff. Private label, yes. So their grocery chain is all across the board. Their brands are President's Choice, No Name, Joe Fresh, and like I said, they purchased Shoppers Drug Mart. They own the Real Canadian Liquor Store, Real Canadian Wholesale Club, No Frills, all those sorts of things that are under the Loblaws banner. And that is who Galen Weston is in. He's the head of this organization. So there is the information there in regards to who's on the board and that sort of thing. So we're looking at, so Galen Weston, like I said, is the head of the organization. He's just a board member listed under the Loblaw Company. So let's go to another one. Let's see what we can learn more about Scott Bonham. Well, Mr. Scott Bonham is a founding partner at GGV Capital and Magna board director. He's the co-founder and partner of The Fueling Station, a real estate management company that manages properties serving Canadian entrepreneurs and startup companies. He co-founded GGV Capital, and he's previously served on a number of private and public company boards and audit committees, including Hooray and on the NASDAQ. Currently a board member of the C100 Association that connects Canadian entrepreneurs and companies with its Silicon Valley network. He's got his Bachelor of Science from Queens, an MBA at Harvard. Just great guy. Great guy that's going to save you on your groceries. Really. So there's Scott Bonham. Next on the list is Christy J.B. Clark. And what is Mr. Clark? He's a director at Air Canada. He's a director at Loblaws. He's director at SNC Lavalin, and you would know all about that SNC Lavalin because they are connected to the Prime Minister and all those sorts of things. Partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers and a trustee of Choice Properties Real Estate Investment Trust. Choice Properties Real Estate Investment Trust. I wonder what the Choice Properties is. So he serves as the chair of the audit committees of Loblaws Company Limited, Air Canada, and holds these aspects of the Choice Properties. So Choice Properties, when we look at about them, the overview of Choice Properties, leading real estate investment trust that creates enduring value through the ownership, operation, and development of high-quality commercial and residential properties. I believe the value comes from creating spaces that improve how our tenants and communities come together. And so if you look at, we could go in there and whatever, but I find it very funny, not haha funny, but like weird funny, that their head office is at the Weston Center in Toronto, Ontario. But no conflict of interest from anyone on this board of directors. Correct. Next director would be Daniel DeBow. And Daniel DeBow, why do you know that name? He's the VP of product at Shopify. So Shopify having the market share on online, and he is the VP of product at Shopify as well as on the board of directors for Loblaw. Janice Fukahusa. So Fukahusa, Canadian business executive and chancellor of the Toronto Metropolitan University, both the chief financial officer and chief administrative officer of the Royal Bank of Canada. So she was with RBC, notably the Canada Infrastructure Bank's founding chairperson, a position she held until 2020. Wow. And she worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Interesting. Didn't we just see that someone else worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers or still works at PricewaterhouseCoopers? Yeah, the dots are starting to come together. The next one we look at is Marianne Harris. And Marianne Harris, we'll just go with net worth. Serves as independent director of the company, of corporate director, and president of corporate and investment banking for Merrill Lynch, Canada. I don't know about you, but I didn't realize that Merrill Lynch had a Canadian office. But Ms. Harris is part of that. She's also a member of the Dean's Advisory Council at the Schulich School of Business, Advisory Council for the Hennick Center for Business, and former chair of the Board of Investment Industry Regulatory Organization of Canada, and all these other things. Prior to Merrill Lynch, she was RBC. And if you went back to one of the other board of directors, or one of the directors on the board, they also with RBC. Claudia Kochka. We'll go into LinkedIn for Ms. Kochka. And Ms. Kochka is a board director, and as you can tell, at Loblaws and board director. I'll just close the screen there. There. So Claudia Kochka, board director, strategy and innovation advisor. So her current roles are Loblaws Company Limited, president, been on the board for 26 since May of 2016, and she's a member of the governance committee and risk compliance committee. And she's also a board director for the chair of mission committee for the American Red Cross in Los Angeles. And if we look at where she is, Los Angeles, California is her contact. So Ms. Kochka, who is the director on the board of one of Canada's biggest grocers, is based out of the United States. It's just interesting. Sarah Raz or Rays is another one on there, and couldn't find a lot on Ms. Rays. But Cornell Wright is the last one we're going to look at. So there's Cornell. And Cornell is president of Whittington Investments. So that is the principal holding company of the Weston Group of Companies, includes George Weston, Loblaw, and Choice Properties. He's the chair of the board of directors for National Ballet of Canada. And he's also a director of BCE Bell Canada since April 2021. So where we're looking at here is the fact that you have a lot of wealthy Canadians, a lot of connected wealthy Canadians, and a lot of interchangeable connection in there, from banks to property management to investment corps, all these different things, communication companies, all these things, all under the one banner of Loblaws as directors. So I look at it and going, how is that not a conflict of interest? Because if we look at some of these things, so right now, Sarah Reyes, I remember now, she's on the board of directors for Ritchie Brothers Auctioneers, and actually she's the most important one. Hold on, let's get back into I'm going to share here. Apologies on that, still coming back from the COVID. Love it. No, I don't. Awful. Anyway, so we're going to zoom in on Ms. Reyes here on a very interesting development in this whole thing. So corporate director at Loblaw Companies, chair of the pension committee, and member of the corporate governance committee, commercial metals company, where she's lead director, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Past chair of the compensation committee. She's also a past director of Vermilion Energy, Canadian Oil Sands, and Shoppers Drug Mart. Interesting that the company that was separate, which was Shoppers Drug Mart, is now owned by Loblaws, that has Ms. Reyes as a director on the board. Again, we're speculating things here, and so it is opinion. I mean, this my opinion here, but also we're connecting the dots that a lot of people have not connected to in regards of Loblaws International and all their different connections here. I think that Shoppers Drug Mart connection is a lot, needs to be looked at a lot deeper in regards of how deep is that connection? When did it start? That sort of thing. But with all that being said, so there's the little bit of a deeper dive into Loblaw companies. These people make boatloads of money. They're holding the purse strings, and they're the ones that are dictating what price points they want to go at, how much profit they want to make, those sort of things, and where the connection comes in regards of, you've got a guy who's in charge of real estate, so then who's getting the rub for the real estate? Where are new locations of Loblaw stores being placed? That sort of thing. Very, like I said, it's not just Galen Weston. Galen Weston is the face of the organization. He's a repulsive piece of garbage, but he does lots of philanthropy, so everyone gives him a freaking pass. And we've talked about it on past shows, on past TikToks, that philanthropy for profit is how a lot of these wealthy, terrible people rebrand themselves or rebuild their image. It's image rebuilding sort of thing. So we say the grocery gouging. So I'm going to pull the curtain back a little bit here, and my philosophy here. So those of you that don't know, I've done a lot of jobs in my past, and I've worked for multiple grocery chains. Was part of building of Sobeys locations when they took over, or Sobeys locations that in Alberta, rebuilding Save On Foods in BC that took over locations of that were Safeway. So I've seen some of the inner workings of those stores, of the rebuild and those sort of things. Also was in direct. I was working directly with one of the VPs of Overweighty Food Group when it came to this store rebuild, because it was very important for them. It was on Vancouver Island, so saw some of the inner workings, part of the pricing, part of all these things. Saw a lot of the stuff gets ignored because of who the president, the face of the Overweighty Food Group, who, if you're not familiar, Overweighty Food Group is owned by Jim Pattison. And Jimmy Pattison is one of the most influential entrepreneurs in Canada, if not in North America. Richest man in Canada on that list. Does lots of philanthropy, just opened up, provided some money to the Children's Hospital in Saskatchewan. Also owns a lot of media. Yeah. He does a lot of philanthropy. He walks around like he's the king because he does a lot of philanthropy. When I was with the Overweighted Food Group, when I was not building the stores, one of my first roles with Overweighted Food Group, I actually worked loss prevention. And I was working loss prevention out of multiple locations in the West Kootenays. And I actually broke records for the amount of people that I busted in those locations. Here's the funny thing. I looked at the person who was shoplifting or stealing or whatever the case may be, because there's many things that we follow, watching cashiers, watching staff, watching those sorts of things, and watching people that clearly were fighting poverty, clearly not in a good financial state. And the funny part is the number of arrests I had of those people that weren't in a good financial state was about 10 times less than the ones that were of wealth and privilege. I arrested doctors that were eating power bars and drinking milk and throwing the wrappers of the power bars behind the milk and walking out of the store. I arrested a woman who hadn't been paying for groceries for number of months, if not years. Her trick was she had a container under, so where they if you work in the industry, it's BOB, so under the cart where you store like heavy items are put there. She had this Rubbermaid container, and so watched her put uh, produce into the cart, then watched her go to the deli section and pick out a wheel of brie and put that in the Rubbermaid container. And then she went to the seafood and grabbed 3 packages of prawns and threw that in the Rubbermaid container. And then she went and got some steak and put that in the Rubbermaid container. And then she went and got more blocks of cheese, and that went into the Rubbermaid container. And then she went and got some very expensive coffee. So bagged coffee was one of the things that was another thing that I caught, and they didn't want me to go after people. People would go and they would open up the bag of the organic coffee, grind it into one of the generic coffee bags, and they'd be paying a lot less per pound for that coffee. Needless to say, I watched this woman then go, thought she was being watched, so she went down one of the aisles, and then as she was coming out of the aisle, she put 2 big warehouse packs of snacks, so like fruit roll-ups or granola bars or whatever, and that was behind the Rubbermaid container. So I'm going and just watching from afar and see her go through, and I'm looking and I'm going, seems like she's only paying for the produce. And so she paid, she went through. Our training was go and ask the cashier first to see if they missed it, because if they missed it, then it's our mistake, and then it's the store's mistake, not our mistake, but it's the store's mistake, and then it gets to be a rigmarole. So asked the cashier, and cashier's like, she told me that she bought the granola bars from another store. Okay, that's fine. So wrote that down, went, and she went, and it was the location was in a mall, so she went and saw me coming from behind and started rushing to try and get to another location, which would mean that outside of my jurisdiction, supposedly. Anyway, called her back and asked her if she paid for the stuff. And she's, oh, I forgot, and all this stuff. And I'm going, did you say that you bought these granola bars at another store? Oh no, I didn't say anything. They just didn't see it. So basically accusing our cashier of lying. So go, the whole procedure is bring them to the back room, interrogation, whatever, and then call the police, and then the police come in and deal with it. So, and I'm supposed to count the amount of money that was, of the merchandise that was being stolen or potentially stolen. And after the count of probably the count was around $600, and her produce that she paid for was about $25. So I go to do whatever. The assistant manager sees me dealing with this woman, waits for whatever, gets the police come. They're like, okay, well, this seems to be a mistake because she's a privilege. They're gonna let her go. So then the assistant manager catches her at the front of the store, and she proceeds to tell him that that it was all a mistake and that whatever. I asked for the ban of this person who was stealing from the store, a person of wealth and privilege, like, okay, judgment call, but a person of who was well off, who was stealing high end items, not just going and grabbing some grapes or whatever. Moral of the story: I'm approached by the assistant manager, who then goes to the manager, and they both come to me and say, "You have to not, you have to forego the charges and ignore her because she's a big customer and she spends like $1,000 a month in our store, and we can't afford to lose her." And I'm going, okay, so she spends $1,000, but she steals 600. How many times? Well, they didn't want to hear that. They didn't care because she was of privilege and she was a white woman. Shocking. So the answer I get when I'm told, okay, by this management team, okay, I'm supposed to leave them or whatever, they go out there and there's a indigenous couple looking at some sort of product in the organic section, and they look at me and they go, "Those are the people you need to arrest." So your management of the stores are looking at it as a judgment call. If you're a white person of privilege and you're caught shoplifting or you're stealing or fraud or whatever the case may be, most likely you get a slap on the wrist. If you're a person in poverty or a person of any sort of ethnicity, in particular in Canada, Indigenous or Black or brown, um, they're going to throw the book at you because you're not a needed customer. You're not going to spend $1,000 in the store because you can't afford to spend $1,000 a month in the store, because you have to go to store to store to store to shop, because there isn't one store in this country that is reliable enough and affordable enough for you to shop. So Weston's going to continue to do his crap. He's going to continue to pump out garbage ads saying that he's saving you money with no name. He's not. And if he's saving you money with no name, he's jacking up the price on other stuff. That's your West inflation. That's why we have inflation. If you actually want to see something, go to in the morning. If you have a PVR set to record, actually just go to the website, go to the BNN, so the Business News Network, and watch the ticker. Watch some of these people. These people are talking about recession. They're talking about this is time for people with privilege. This is the time people with wealth to profit off of those that don't. So, prime example, housing, affordable housing. You know why there's no affordable housing? Because the wealthy continue to be opportunists when it comes to affordable housing that comes on the market. And it comes on the market based on inflation, based on financial circumstance, and based on the market. And I urge you to, we've been watching, my wife and I, you have to turn off your brain occasionally. I mean, I'm fighting against capitalism, I'm fighting against depression. Just have to turn off the brain to watch something. So watch the new Jon Stewart show on Apple TV, or watch it on download the podcast. It is the problem with Jon Stewart. And the latest one he was talking about media, but he previously was talking about the stock market. And if you remember months ago when we had GameStop and Robinhood and all these different things, it is very humorous. It's funny. It's Jon Stewart, but it's also very educational, and he doesn't pull any punches. And the last episode when he was talking to the media, talking about media, he's talking about news. And that's why I do this show. So I'm trying to tell you the truth, trying to share the truth. The truth sucks. The truth is hard. The truth isn't fun. But you need to know the truth, because what is being fed by mainstream media, corporate media, or even the larger independent media sources is what pays their wage. They're going to provide you a story that gets the most clicks, that gets the most reaction, that will get them paid through Patreon. If you're looking at independents or your non-commercial media sources, Patreon, YouTube subscription, Substack, all those things. There's a reason why they're doing these things. Like, there's a reason why people here in Alberta have relaunched podcasts, because it pays the bills. The question, though, I ask is, are you taking no side? So when I say I'm opinionated, absolutely I'm opinionated in regards of I question everyone equally. We're looking at a political landscape as a cesspool. And when you're looking at, especially here in Alberta, mistakes are being made left, right, and center. Some of them are just mistakes, just trying to do something different. And they're learning from those mistakes because they're trying to do something that sets them apart from the masses. Other mistakes are bold-faced lies from our current premier. Broken promises from the leader of the opposition. Telling you what you want to hear from all these independent media sources. Taking the side that's going to pay their bills, taking the side that's going to continue the capitalist mentality, that's going to continue colonialism. I'm never going to take that side. I would love if you guys supported me. I'd love if we had the support. I'd love if the people that I have worked with and tried to help and have helped over the last 3 years, 4 years, say a decade, whatever the case may be. Decade I was in the capitalist society, so I don't expect that. But I'm talking about the independent media sources. I'm talking about the leftists. I'm talking about these people that are supposed to be right fighters. If you could help me, that would be great. Because I can't get hired anywhere. This is my try and gain some income. Relaunching Baller Gear is another place that we're going to try and gain some income. We had to take it down. We had a lot of promises that were made that So what you need to understand from me when I'm talking truth from a non-capitalist idealist. I hate capitalism. I hate most people because most people are promoting and being compensated by the capitalist system. Our current political state is capitalism and driven by capitalism. The war in the Ukraine is driven by capitalism. There is no reason for war. War is wrong regardless. And to continue to prop up one side against the other because it looks better for you is bullshit. It's like politics. Pick your favorite team, put on the jersey, wear your orange, wear your blue, wear your red. It doesn't matter. If the leader doesn't have any integrity and the leader is paid by the corporations and capitalism, same shit, different pile. That's all you got. So here in Alberta, you have a choice. And the choice isn't orange or blue or whatever. All the people better off with this or get rid of that. Piss off. You have a choice. The choice is independent or third party. Alberta Party, Green Party, Alberta Liberal Party, or independents. Those are the current parties that are represented right now coming into the upcoming election. Vote one of them. If you have a strong candidate that is running independently or is running for one of those smaller parties, vote for them. Get at least a handful of them into the legislature. What do you have to lose? Nothing. You have everything to lose if you don't. Because if we keep doing the status quo, we're going to keep having people die in the streets. We're going to have keep people dying in hospitals due to being infected by multiple diseases and conditions because our current government and the opposition don't give two fucks for you or the fellow citizens. They care about the bottom dollar. Because if they actually cared about anyone, they would take the precautions when we're in a pandemic, but they won't. Because that's not popular. They all want popularity. It's like the influencers on TikTok, the influencers on Twitter. It's all popular. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go viral. I'm going to do this. What does your popularity get you? Jack squat. What are you doing? You're actually watering down a avenue, a needed avenue for people that are in poverty, people that are on disability, people that are disabled, people that are part of the 2S LGBTQTIA plus community, people of the global majority. You're stealing from them by promoting your bullshit. That's great. You have a take that Danielle Smith is this, or, oh, I'm going to dress like Danielle Smith, or I'm going to do this and F. Kenny and all this. It doesn't fucking matter. Because what you're doing is destroying society because you're selfish. If you actually cared about society and you cared about your fellow human being, you would amplify the things that are already out there and not start your own. Use your privilege for good instead of being good for nothing. Or worse yet, good for useless. Went on a little tangent there. Quick update. We're still coming off of COVID. We're sick with COVID. Thankfully, we're vaccinated in regards of the severity of the COVID that we got. Brain's still whatever, still struggling in regards of certain things. Thankfully, it's not like other people that are struggling for breath and whatever. That was my big worry. Having a lung infection about 5 years ago. So my worry was that COVID was going to kill me. It didn't. So COVID's still there. COVID's still airborne. You got whooping cough and whatever else because we have vaccine hesitancy. And don't get me wrong, I don't give two shits about the pharmaceutical corps. They're greedy pieces of garbage, but they've bought your politicians. So understand this. You don't get your vaccine is only hurting yourself. You not masking up is only hurting you and the community. Because when you get sick and you're on death's door, or you're on a ventilator, or you're struggling, you can't work anymore, the system doesn't care. The banks don't care. They will take you down. They will come after you. They will squeeze blood out of a stone to get the money that they believe you owe them. Your employer doesn't care. Anyone who was back to business and COVID doesn't exist, they don't care. They care about going on vacation. They care about making profit. That's all they care about. And right now, your lead politicians in the province of Alberta, that's all they care about too. So understand that when you're going to the polls, whenever the hell this woman is going to call the election, vote third party, because it's the only way you're going to induce any change. Because right now, if you continue to vote one of the two parties, it's a duopoly. Then it's political theater. One party is going to do everything in their power because they have full control and they're going to push through shit that you have no idea what's happening. Well, the other party will sit here and whine and snivel and say, well, if we get in, we won't do that. We'll do better. You were in. You didn't do better. People before you were in, you didn't do better than that. You all been garbage. You all did not take care of the province. So what we need to do is we have to ensure there's a third party representation in the legislature to ensure checks and balances. Because if you don't have majority, you can't push through these different laws like the Sovereignty Act or a provincial police force in the dark of night. You actually have to go into the legislature and you have to perform in the democratic process and debate and then put it forward to the members. And then you need to have all the members vote, not just have a majority and vote from Maui when you tell everyone to stay home. Thanks for joining me. Next week, we're going to hopefully have a guest. Tried to have some this week. Didn't work out. Them's the breaks. We'll have another topic next week. If you have a topic, message us. You want to come on the show? Message us. All the contact information is in the description on YouTube, and you can just message us on TikTok, on Twitter, ADC Talking Truth, ADC Truth. And hopefully we will have Baller Gear up and running again soon and some other ventures going through. It's a struggle. You can go to our My Coffee account if you want to support the show. You can donate there. You can become a truth teller. We need more truth tellers out there, by the way. If you want to share the truth on something and stop spewing the corporate mandate message me. We'll come on. We're going to talk truth. Because that's what we do here. Because no one else is doing it. Might have a small audience. share with your friends, share with people, share with the like-minded people, because the only way we're going to induce change is if we do it ourselves, because we can't wait for a hero, because there is no hero. You got to be your own hero, and the only way we become heroes is by collaborating. Through collaboration and cooperation comes change. We'll see you all next week.